Hello, and welcome to Time Between Time Stories. Welcome to another ghost story at this, the darkest time of year. The time when the veil between our world and the fairy world is at its thinnest. A time for stories, a time for ghosts, a time for the Tylwyth Teg, a time for the Grach a Ribbon, or the Gwylgi, and many of those haunted Welsh things. But tonight, I'll bring you a tale that I know well, and one that has haunted me since I've heard it. It's the tale of Twm a Cwm, Thomas a Cwm, and the music box that he found. Leave behind your modern trappings. Leave behind your iPhones, your PS4s, your Xboxes. And come with me to the time between times. The time when it is neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. Leave behind all your worries, your cares, everything that's happening. Come with me to the land of stories. Thomas a Cwm was a bad, bad man. He was cruel to his animals, he was cruel to his friends. Seldom did he work, he took to drink a lot. And in the Swansea Valley, many, many years ago, he was friendless, he was familyless, and spent most of his time alone. When his parents had died many years before, they had left him one present, a small music box that played a tune like this. When the nights were dark and the weather was cold, Thomas would listen to the music and watch the small dancer turning around and around. He was known to drink in the Penacai Inn in the Swansea Valley, living as he was at the village of Colburn. And many a night at the time between times he would wander down the path that led through the back roads down towards Penacai. One day, something happened that changed his life. As he made his way over the small river at the bottom of the path, there are stepping stones over the tower, and he would jump from one to the other, making his way up the hill on the other side till he came to the pub. But on that night, as the time between times grew long, Thomas a Cwm could hear soft singing that swirled on the wind. And as he approached and looked on the river, on a flat stone, there danced one of the Tylwyth Teg. She was the fairest thing he had ever seen. There were small flowers in her hair. She danced and pranced and jumped up and down, not seeing Thomas, although his heart started to beat quicker, for he knew that to look upon the Tylwyth Teg could often make you go to sleep like that and not wake for 100 years. They could make a baby fall asleep and replace it with a changeling. But her beauty was such that Thomas was drawn to her. But as he moved towards her, calling, "Come to me," the fairy looked up, looked him right in the eyes, blew him a kiss, and vanished. The next night he came again, the same thing happened. But on the third night, he had in his mind a small plan, and he took with him his music box. As he reached the edge of the river, he sat there and watched as the fairy once again danced in the twilight. And then he opened the box, and the music started to play. The Tylwyth Teg became entranced. The small fairy moved towards him, and he reached out with the box, opening the lid, and the small dancer within turned round and round the same size as the fairy, and the fairy hopped towards him. Holding his very breath, he waited as the fairy took one step, leapt up and into the box, and Thomas, being the bad man that he was, closed it suddenly, capturing the fairy inside. He put the box under his arm looked around, made sure no one could see him, and rushed back to the farm at Pantafine. He opened the door, went inside, lit the fire, took out a mug of ale that he had in store, and opened the box. There inside, the fairy started to dance and dance. Thomas watched entranced, his glimpse into the other world, as the fairy danced with the ballerina round and round as the night grew dark. He would have watched her all night. But suddenly, without warning, in the dark of the night, outside his house, he heard a knocking. He looked around, closed the box, hid it under his bed, went to the door, but there was nobody there. As he went back to the box, the knocking started again, and again, and again, and still the knocking carried on. All night until the dawn broke, the knocking continued outside Pantafine. Thomas was terrified, for each time he looked out of the window it was as if something had moved just out of sight, keeping away from him. But still the knocking continued. The next day he got up and almost feared the dark. But at the time between times, once more he opened the box and let the fairy dance again under the light. But as the night grew dark, this time outside, from out of his windows and out of his door, he could hear the barking of dogs. Woo, woo! The dogs came around, barking and howling and sniffing, but when he opened the window, opened the door, there was nothing there. Terrified, he carried on. He could hear them walking and brushing against the house, and directly at midnight he opened the door and saw a pair of red eyes in the distance. He kept up all night, awaiting the fate, awaiting the door to open, but it never happened. And the dawn broke again. The third night, now covered with exhaustion, absolutely at the edge of sanity, Thomas again opened the box and listened to the music play. This time, he heard the knocking once more. He rushed to the doorway and opened the door. And there outside was a hooded man. But cut into the hood were great holes, and out of the hood were great antlers that stretched out. His face he could not see, but he saw that his eyes glowed red. The hooded figure reached out and spoke to Thomas in a voice as old as the mountains, as capricious as the sea. "Bring me what is mine." Thomas knew exactly what he spoke of. He took the box and gave it to the spirit outside the door. Thomas knew that whoever this was not of this world. The spirit put the box under his arm and motioned for Thomas to follow him. It is said that that night in the village of Colbrin, 200 years ago, almost to this very night, an otherworldly procession was seen, walking down towards the Henreid Falls. Here in the Swansea Valley, a place so dark they say the sun only shines for an hour a day, and then at the height of midsummer. Here where the cragged rocks stretch to the sky. Here somewhere that is old and also very young. An otherworldly procession was seen. Great hounds, the hooded antlered man, and the Tylwyth Teg, and Thomas O'Combe, who followed them till they walked behind the Henreid waterfalls and vanished. It is said even now, for this is a place that many people come to, many people visit. This is a place at all time of years that climbers and walkers, canoers, all make their way through the forest. But even now, when some of them come to the tea stops, the pubs, the inns, the local areas, they will ask the locals, why is it in this forest where all is quiet, that now and again we just hear, just far enough away, the playing of a music box deep in the woods? It is said now at Halloween at Kalangaya, if you are lucky enough or unlucky enough, the otherworldly procession can be seen making its way through the village of Colburn. And there at the back, walking in trance, forever following the man who dared to take one of the Tylwyth Teg and make it his own, a servant of the other world, a hostage to Gwyn ap Nudd. And that, my friends, is the story of Thomas a Cwm. If you are lucky enough to go to the Swansea Valley at this time of year and you listen ever so quietly, you hear the music box play. But beware that you do not see this otherworldly procession, for you may take to being taken away behind a waterfall and never seen again. Thank you, my friends, for listening. My name is Owen Staton, and this was my tale tonight. Enjoy. No star.